Okay, we're gonna go ahead and set up our still life. You'll need a piece of fruit, an apple will do, a white sheet of paper, a light source above, and a flashlight. You can draw directly just like this, sitting in front of your fruit, or you could take a picture of it. I'm gonna choose to take a photo of it so I have it on my laptop. Right now, you'll notice that the apple has what's called a cast shadow. That's the shadow from the light above, from the lamp. And you'll notice all the different reds on the apple. When you think about the value changes we did with colored pencil, you can see there's dark reds, light reds, mediums reds, and you would just apply with your red colored pencil different values to that. We're going to exaggerate the light on the right side by taking a flashlight and adding a little bit more fun light to the right side. And then I'm going to take a picture of this and work from this photo. You can do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and do that mine now. So we did our value scales. Now we're going to do some basic shapes. And again, this is for kids, so we're just going to cover your basic shapes. You've got your circle, triangle, and a square. And I know all of you can draw this, and you can draw squiggly lines and zigzag lines. And if you could draw all this, then pretty much you could draw anything. So most everything you see is based on a shape. You just have to break it down. So I'm going to go ahead, grab some more computer paper. I'm going to look at my image. You're either looking at your apple directly, or you put it on your phone or your laptop, and it's still, no one's going to touch it. And you're going to look for the circle. So right here, if I look inside here, I see a circle. The whole apple is not a circle, but there's a circle in here. So I'm going to draw that first. So I got my circle. I'm going to draw kind of small today so I can make this go faster. And then if I break it up, this is a flat line here, just to keep it simple. And then the lines come at an angle out. And I've got to meet up with the apple. So that's just a very simplified way of making your apple shape. Okay. Also, if you look at the stem goes right into the middle of the apple, a little bit off to the center. And it's not coming right here, it's coming into the apple. So you're going to draw a line, and it's at an angle. So see how this is at an angle? And I'm just going to draw a line like this, and it goes right into the middle. And then I would draw an oval here. So an oval on its side. So just to simplify, we've got a line, we've got a circle, we've got a line here, some lines, and I know all of you could do this, okay? Then you look at the cast shadow. Where does the cast shadow fall? The cast shadow begins underneath the apple, and it comes out at an angle, but essentially what you're looking at is another circle. Or actually more of a elongated oval. So it comes out and around, and it comes up high. So I'm looking for that measurement in my eyes right here, halfway. So I look here halfway, and I'm gonna do this quick, so it's not gonna be perfect, and it's just a lesson, so we're just gonna do this as quickly as I can. And then you got your stem here. So for those of you working in pencil, you're going to take your value changes and you're going to look at where the darks are, where the lights are. All the lights are on this side. You've got a really bright white here. So what you might want to do is already accentuate that. Leave that right there. And then you're going to shade this in the direction of the apple. Okay, so in the middle it's straight up and down. And when it comes around, it's going to go in the opposite direction. Okay. And I know that my apple is not a number 1. I really don't see a lot of 1s here. I see a lot of 6s, 7s, and 8s. So I'll be working a lot darker. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly get down to my darks. Or at least a medium value, a 5 from my value scale. Okay. You can go ahead and stop. We're going to just finish this. Go ahead. Okay, so I just quickly tried to shade this in. Then I go back in. Once I get a nice solid value, I get rid of all the whites. Then I'm going to go back in with my next value. So looking at my value scale, I think to myself, I have my 5s. Now I need some 6s, some 7s, and maybe some 8s. Sometimes I like to start with these really dark darks just to establish how dark am I going to get with my darkest dark. So this is going to be very, very dark underneath the apple and maybe right next to the apple. And then the shadow is pretty consistent in terms of its value. It's 1 value. the bottom of the apple starts to change value here. And this is gonna grow out a little bit darker on this side because the light source is coming from this side with my flashlight. And maybe I'll use a little bit of my cross-hatching technique where I'm not coloring the whole thing in, I'm just adding some lines. Well, not necessarily cross-hatching, but maybe I'm gonna come in a different direction. My lines are separated. They're not, it doesn't have, the lines don't have to be completely shaded. That could be just value next to each other lines. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and draw in the stem. The stem gets a little fatter on the top. There might be a little bit of an oval. So that's how I make that line more dimensional. And I'm gonna accentuate the oval where the stem goes into. And then I notice that the value of the red comes in and it breaks up into a green or a yellow in here. So that would be a lighter value. So all this is gonna be darker and darker underneath here. And maybe even a cast shadow here. So I'm gonna make it really dark where the stem meets the apple. Or it does a cast shadow, I'm sorry, on the apple. Sometimes it's hard to talk when you draw. Actually, it's very difficult. Okay. So that is just kind of a quick way to do an apple with pencil. If you have artistic pencils at home, like ebony pencils, they can get even a lot darker than just a number 2 pencil. So if you have numbered pencils at home with all different numbers, you could try that variety of technique where you're doing different values. I'm going to use my eraser to highlight areas I thought that got too dark. Maybe a little bit of light right in here. Maybe a little light here. Okay, and that's it. That's for a middle school or elementary age apple. Thank you. My next apple is going to be using colored pencil, just like we did here with the value scale. This time we're going to use a variety of colors. I already drew the apple, so I'm not going to show you that, and I already filled it in with yellow, and I did the shadow in blue. You can see, even though the shadow is gray, it's fun to use color. I always suggest using blue for shadows, never black. You could see some yellow tones in the apple, and that's why I start with yellow. Yellow and red make orange, and there's some orange colors in here. So when we throw in the red and the orange, we're gonna get an apple. Does it have to look exactly like the apple you have? No, it doesn't, but it's just your interpretation of an apple. So again, we're gonna start with got my yellows down, I'm gonna do my reds. I'm gonna overlap this yellow with red, and you're gonna get some oranges here. Again, I'm pressing maybe like a 4 or a 5 on my value scale. I'm not getting too dark right away. I just wanna establish that this is not a yellow apple, it's a red apple. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to work fast because I know it's not that much fun to just sit and watch me. And you probably want to get to work. So quickly cover it with red over the yellow, and then start establishing where are your dark values. I've got some really, really dark values down here. Now I'm pressing harder, and when I press hard, it's either a 7, 8, or 9. So this is when you get to start really applying the pressure with your colored pencil and pressing really hard to get that red to come out. And then maybe right now I'm letting up on the pressure. I'm not applying as much pressure right when I come around this way because the light source is coming from my right, and I want to leave this side pretty much yellow or orange, and so it represents a lighter value. It represents my lower value tones here. Okay, and then again I got these red that come in. So I try to color in the direction that I see the apple growing in. So it's kind of like the lines are coming in to it. So I go over and in, over and in, over and into that hole, over and in, okay? And that kind of establishes that look of this kind of hole that the apple creates right there. I'm gonna go outside my line and make a nice dark red here just for fun, see what happens. Get really, really red, really darker here. Maybe add a little bit of value right in here. I'm gonna take green, let's say, I'm gonna go ahead and do my stem. Maybe I'll add blue or purple just to see what happens. Let me outline that a little bit. Okay, maybe I'll even add some brown to it. Not too much brown because brown is kind of like not a very fresh color, and we're trying to make a fresh apple that you want to eat, unless you want to make your apple look like it's on its way out, like Caravaggio did. I'm adding some blues to add some dark values to it because I'm having a hard time getting my darks in, so I think it's fun to add some other colors, and that creates your dark values. Maybe that the reds have some dark blues. It's almost purple in here. If you see, that's a red and blue make purple, so you can kind of see that color actually changes. Even though an apple is red, when you draw what you see, you don't draw what you know. If everybody was drawing what they knew, then they would draw their apple like this. And that's what we think of when we think of an apple, but that's not how we want to draw our apple today. We want to look at it, see the color that's there, and actually mimic that, copy that. Okay, and that's the lesson for today. Apple with colored pencil. You could do the same thing with cross-hatching, with a marker. So let's say at home you don't have colored pencils and you don't have a good pencil you want to use, you want to try something else, you can do the same thing, but try the cross-hatching technique, okay? And again, you're going to go around until you get this look. Maybe it's really, really dark in here, more cross-hatching here, maybe a little bit on this side, darker here. Whoops, it's a little too big. You can always fix things you don't like. Okay? And have fun with it. Just keep practicing. You don't have to, you're not gonna get it right the first time. I did that pretty quickly. If I had more time, it would be better, but I'm just doing a quick demo, and do as many apples as you can. I'm gonna show you my daughter's artwork right over here, Lauren, who is 11. I'll bring it over here. Just did this piece right here. And she chose blueberries. So she went online, she looked at a picture of blueberries, and again, she did value changes. So she has light, that would be a 1, or this would be actually a 4. In the value scale, you got your darks, dark blues. So it's all about value, changing value, dark and light, and then play with the colors when you do that. Have fun, and hope to see you soon at DePage Art League. Bye-bye.